p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Nipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Biggest Russia-West exchange since Cold War sees 24 prisoners freed. Russia frees Wall Street Journal reporter Ivan Gershkovich, while Germany swallows bitter pill to release murder convict Vadim Krasikov to Russia. US President Biden acknowledges Germany made significant concessions to achieve prisoner swap, says brutal ordeal for those released is over. Russian President Putin welcomes them as heroes loyal to the motherland. US steps up efforts to contain the West Asia crisis. Biden and Netanyahu discuss US military deployments to support Israel. Blinken speaks with Saudi counterpart about importance of a Gaza ceasefire deal. Leave Lebanon now. India, Australia, Canada issue advisory as crisis in West Asia escalates. India asks those who remain to exercise caution and restrict movement. And in sports, Simone Biles clinches her 6th Olympic gold medal at the Paris Games, reasserts her status as the #1 all-round gymnast in the world. On to the details now. It's the largest exchange of prisoners since the Cold War. 26 people were released from the US, Russia and the allied countries and exchanged for one another. Ivan Gershkovich from the Wall Street Journal and former US Marine Paul Whelan were among those who returned home. Caroline Malone reports for more from Washington. Take a look.
Well, this was a deal that was months and months in the planning and highly complicated, involving multiple allies and partners of the United States and, of course, on the Russian side as well. Highly complicated negotiations, but got to the point of release of this large group of people, including US citizens. Among them, Wall Street journalist Evan Gershkovich and former Marine Paul Whelan. We heard earlier in the day from President Biden, who said it was a feat of diplomacy. This group have been unjustly held for years and all suffered unimaginably, but today their agony is over. He also said, though, that he will not stop working until every American who's wrongfully detained or held hostage around the world is reunited with their family.
All 4 have been imprisoned unjustly in Russia. Paul for nearly 6 years. Vladimir since 2022. Evan since March of 2023, and Alsu since October of 2023. The deal that made this possible was a feat of diplomacy and friendship. Multiple countries helped get this done. They joined in difficult, complex negotiations at my request, and I personally thank them all again. And I've thanked them personally, and I'll thank them again. All told, Russia has released 16 prisoners. 8 Russians who are being held in the West will be sent home as well. These 16 prisoners from Russia that Russia has released include 4 Americans, 5 Germans, 7 Russian citizens who are political prisoners in their own country gathered here. It's relief to the friends and colleagues all across the country who've been praying for this day for a long time.
And that's what happened later in the evening on Thursday, when Biden and Vice President Harris were there to greet the returning prisoners along with their family members. We heard also from the White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who was asked specifically about the difficult choice that had to be made, releasing a Russian criminal, an assassin, Vadim Krasikov, in return for some of these prisoners. And he said it was difficult to send a convicted criminal to secure the release of innocent Americans. But sometimes the choice is between doing that and leaving those people to basically live out their life in prison in a hostile foreign country or at the hands of a hostile power. So justifying the choice that they made there. Overall, though, happy moments, emotional moments seen on Thursday into the early hours of Friday with the return of these prisoners to the United States. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
Perhaps the most crucial decision for the prisoner swap to happen was made not by the US President Joe Biden, but German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Germany agreed to release Vadim Krasikov, who was serving a life sentence for murdering a Georgian citizen in a Berlin park. Chancellor Scholz said it indeed was a difficult one, but necessary to protect German and US citizens. Speaking at Cologne Airport, where he was waiting to welcome the freed prisoners, Scholz said US President Joe Biden had thanked Germany for its help with the prisoner transfer.
I spoke to President Biden on the phone, who is very thankful for the cooperation of our two countries in this important matter. For the United States, it was especially important to see Wall Street Journal journalist Ivan Gershkovich and ex-Marine Paul Whelan in freedom, in close and trusting cooperation with the United States and European partners. After months of confidential talks with the Russian side, it was now possible to release 15 people who were illegally held as political prisoners in Russia. The state's interest in seeing him punished had to be weighed against the danger to the bodies and, in some cases, the lives of innocent people in prison in Russia and political prisoners.
Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin also met the Russian nationals freed in prisoner swap at the airport. Putin congratulated them at the Vnukovo airport on their return to their homeland and thanked them for their loyalty to the oath to their duty there, your homeland, which has never forgotten them for a minute. Well, the newsroom of the Wall Street Journal came to a halt on Thursday as word came in that their colleague Ivan Gershkovich was included in a historic prisoner swap. Led by the Wall Street Journal editor Emma Tucker, staff members quickly gathered in the center of the newsroom to cheer, leaving some in tears. Editor Tucker gave a toast to Gershkovich's freedom and the hard work it had taken to get there. Well, here are names of those freed under a major East-West prisoner exchange on Thursday. 3 U.S. citizens to return from Russia, Ivan Gershkovich, Paul Whelan, Alsu Kurmasheva. 1 legal permanent resident, Vladimir Kara-Murza, also to return. 12 German nationals and Russian political prisoners will return to Germany. They are Dieter Voronin, Kevin Lick, Rico Kreger, Patrick Schubel, Herman Moises, Ilya Yashin, Lilia Chancheva, Sinia Fareyeva, Vadim Ostinin, Andrei Pivovarev, Oleg Orlov, Sasha Skotilenko. 8 people are returning to Russia, Artem Daltsev and Anna Daltseva. From Slovenia, Michael Mikushin. From Norway, Pavel Rapsov. From Poland, Vadim Krasikov. From Germany, Roman Seleznev, Vladislav and Vadim Konoshkechenyok from US. And US President Joe Biden held a phone call on Thursday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The White House said that the two leaders discussed new US defensive military deployments to support Israel against threats such as missiles and drones. Well, international diplomacy is continuing as world leaders call for calm amid fear the Middle East may be on the brink of a wider regional war. The United States has sent 12 warships to the Mediterranean. Sarah Coates has more from Tel Aviv.
Certainly a lot of fear here in Israel in the wake of these threats by Iran, by Hezbollah and also by Hamas after the assassination of two very senior members of both Hamas and also Hezbollah. Now, the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he has been threatening a very strong response on Israel, and that certainly has people here very, very worried. What we are seeing on the ground is panic buying in supermarkets, beaches that are largely packed on a Thursday afternoon, which is the beginning of the weekend here, largely deserted. So there is, of course, a lot of fear, a lot of worry about what could come over the coming hours. And we do know that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he's held very high-level meetings with not just the head of the Home Front Command, but also the National Emergency Authority. Now, Netanyahu posted on X that Israel is at a high state of readiness for any scenario, both defensively and offensively, saying we will exact a very high price for any aggression from any arena. Reporting from Tel Aviv, Sarah Coates, DD India.
Well, India has also issued an advisory for its nationals in Lebanon over potential threats. In two advisories issued within almost 12 hours, Indian Embassy in Lebanon asked its nationals to leave Lebanon and avoid all non-essential travel. The advisory said, in view of recent developments and potential threats in the region, Indian nationals are strongly advised against traveling to Lebanon till further notice. All internationals are also strongly advised to leave Lebanon. Those who remain for any reason are advised to exercise extreme caution, restrict their movements and remain in contact with the Embassy of India in Beirut through their email ID, that is cons.beirut@mea.gov.in, or the emergency phone number, that is 961768600128. On the other hand, Australia too urged its nationals to leave. Minister of Foreign Affairs Penny Wong warned all Australians in Beirut to leave immediately.
Message to Australian citizens and residents in Lebanon is now is the time to leave. If you are in Australia and thinking of travelling to Lebanon, do not. There is a real risk that the conflict in the region escalates seriously. The security situation could deteriorate quickly with little or no notice. Some commercial flights are still operating. If you can leave, you should. Beirut Airport could close completely if the situation worsens. And if that happens, the government may not be able to help Australians still in Lebanon to evacuate. You may not be able to leave Lebanon for an extended period. I know Australians, in particular the Lebanese Australian community, are worried. We share your concerns. We are working with partners in the region to push for restraint and de-escalation. But now is not the time for Australians in the region to wait and see what happens. Now is the time to leave.
Well, also Canada too urged its citizens to come back home if they were in Lebanon and to not think about visiting Beirut. Minister of Foreign Affairs Mylène Joly in a statement said to Canadian citizens and permanent residents, if you are in Canada and thinking about visiting Lebanon, don't. If you are in Lebanon, come back home. If tensions escalate, the situation on the ground may not allow us to help you and you won't be able to leave or plan accordingly. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Thursday spoke with the Saudi Foreign Minister about Gaza and Sudan. The State Department said that Blinken and Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud talked about the importance of a Gaza ceasefire deal. They also discussed the need for the Sudanese armed forces and rapid support forces to participate in a ceasefire talk this month. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. We'll give you an update on Wayanad landslide rescue efforts as rescue has raced against time under harsh conditions to search for survivors trapped in debris. Another hearing on NEET UG to be held today in the Supreme Court. And in sports, we'll bring you a roundup of India's performance at Day 6 of Paris Olympics.
This summer, the world turns its eyes to Paris, and DD India brings you every heartbeat, every victory, and every story. Introducing our special coverage of the Paris Olympics. Experience the passion, the drama, and the triumphs. With exclusive reports, expert analysis, and up-to-the-minute updates. Join us as we bring the spirit of the Olympics to your screens.
Get ready for the ultimate sporting extravaganza on DD India.
DD India presents Champions Day Paris. Only on DD India. Every day at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, in India's southern state Kerala, rescuers raced against time under harsh conditions to search for survivors trapped in debris after massive landslide struck Wayanad district on Tuesday. The death toll exceeded at least 250, with several other people still missing. The toll is expected to rise further. Rescue teams are working tirelessly under challenging conditions to find survivors of the disaster. The rescue efforts are being significantly hampered by the difficult terrain, exasperated by the destroyed roads and bridges. Additionally, a lack of heavy machinery has slowed the process of clearing the thick mud and large uprooted trees that have caused extensive damage to the buildings. State Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan on Thursday said the rescue mission in the landslide hit Mandakai region of Wayanad could take a few more days, and appointed a cabinet subcommittee of 4 ministers to coordinate the rescue efforts. Meanwhile, the Indian Meteorological Department has predicted more rain for Wayanad and several other districts over the next couple of days. A red alert for heavy rain has been issued for 7 other districts. Meanwhile, heavy overnight rains triggered flooding and a house collapse as several rivers swelled in Indian state of Uttarakhand. The centre has dispatched 2 Indian Air Force helicopters, a Chinook and an Mi-17 to aid rescue operations in the state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took stock of the situation in the wake of the intense showers. PM has also assured Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami of all necessary assistance. Also, the Kedarnath Yatra was suspended amid the inclement weather conditions as the heavy downpour triggered landslides at many places. The trek route remains blocked by boulders. Choppers are being used to evacuate pilgrims stuck between Gaurikund and Kedarnath. Also, the Indian Meteorological Department issued red alert for extremely heavy rains in parts of Uttarakhand. And moving on, the Central Bureau of Investigation filed its first charge sheet in the alleged National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test undergraduate 2024 question paper leak case. The charge sheet names 13 people as accused who were allegedly involved in the paper leak and other irregularities. As many as 6 FIRs were filed by the Central Probe Agency in connection with discrepancies in the conduct of the NEET UG examination. The case in Bihar pertains to question paper leaks, while the remaining cases from Gujarat, Rajasthan and Maharashtra involve cheating and impersonation of candidates. Meanwhile, the Apex Court will pronounce the judgment, offering detailed reasons as to why it took the decision of not cancelling the medical entrance examination. And moving on, the two-day conference of governors is commencing on Friday at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. This conference will be the first conference of governors to be presided over by the president. Governors of all states will attend the conference. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and several union ministers will also attend the conference. The Vice Chairman and CEO of Niti Aayog and other senior officials from the PMO and Cabinet Secretariat in the Home Affairs Ministry will also participate. The agenda of the conference includes the implementation of 3 criminal laws, reforms in higher education and accreditation of universities, and the development of focus areas. And now to all the updates from Paris Olympics 2024. Well, the most decorated gymnast Simone Biles won the all-around gymnastic title in Paris and 6th overall medal at Olympics so far to cement her place back at the top of her sport. In a tight race between Biles and Brazil's Rebecca Andrade, the American was surprisingly left trailing in 3rd place. However, she was back on top after a solid performance on her next apparatus, which was the balance beam. Biles captured her 2nd gold medal of the Paris Games and a 2nd all-round Olympic title after also winning the individual event in Rio in 2016. She also claimed the team gold earlier this week. And it was a roller coaster for India at the day 6 of Paris Olympics, where India's Swapnil Kusale won a historic bronze medal. However, star players Satwik and Chirag fell short to making it to the semi-finals. DD India's Narayan Singh will bring you more update. Well, let's look at the medal tally at Paris Olympics first. So far, China leads the medal tally with 11 gold, 7 silver and 6 bronze. It is closely followed by United States, which has clinched 9 gold, 15 silver and 13 bronze medals so far. While France is at the 3rd place, winning 8 gold, 11 silver and 8 bronze. Meanwhile, India is at 44th position with 3 bronze medals so far. All 3 have come from shooting.
Day 6 of the Paris Games was a roller coaster of emotions for Indian cap, delivering moments of triumph and heartbreak. Talking about shooting, Swapnil Kusale makes history. Indian shooter Kusale etched his name in the history books by winning bronze medal in men's 3-position rifle 50-meter event. This marks India's 1st ever Olympic shooting medal in the 50-meter 3-position and their 3rd medal in rifle shooting after Abhirav Bindra's gold in the Beijing Olympics and Gagan Narang's bronze in 2012 in London. Kusale's consistent performance, especially in the prone and standing position, propelled him to 3rd place at the end of the stage 1. He maintained his position through stage 2, scoring a crucial point with his next 3 shots to secure the bronze medal for India. And Laksh Sen advances in a clash of compatriots. Laksh Sen triumphed over Jaspreet Pranoy in men's singles round of 16. The 22-year-old unseeded at these games now faces the Chinese opponent, who is a 12th seed player in the quarterfinal. Sen will look to turn tides, having lost 3 of their previous encounters. And it was heartbreak in men's doubles of the badminton. Chirag and Satwik Sairaj fell short in their quarterfinal match against Malaysian pair, marking a disappointing end to their campaign in this edition of the Paris Games. Another Indian shuttler, PV Sindhu's early exit. 2-time Olympic medalist Sindhu faced an early exit after a tough match against the Chinese He Binjiao. That was in the round of 16. And talking about golf, there will be golfing debutants. Indian golfer Shubhankar and Gaganjeet made their Olympic debuts in the men's golf champion at the Lee Golf National. Shubhankar finished ahead of Buller in the 1st round, and both of them are aiming to make a mark at the Paris game. Talking about boxing, Nikhil Zarin's boxing campaign ends. Nikhil Zarin's debut at the Summer Games can call it ended in a disappointment as she bowed out in the round of 16 in the women's 50 kg boxing event. The two-time world champion lost to Wu Yu of China by unanimous decision.
Well, India will take on Sri Lanka in the first ODI of the three-match series at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo on Friday. Rohit Sharma will be back to lead the Indian side along with Virat Kohli. This will be Gautam Gambhir's first ODI series as a coach. Sri Lanka have lost 5 fast bowlers to injuries or illness, while India will be boosted by the return of Rohit, Kohli and Kuldeep. The first ODI match between Sri Lanka and India will begin at 2:30 p.m. IST. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.